Some are saying the Trump administration is shifting its focus away from China and to Latin America and domestic issues. Is the US done with the China threat? Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. It's a well-known fact that US President Donald Trump has been trying hard to end the conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East so that he can pivot all of his attention to China. I mean, everyone knows that, right? So why are there now reports that the Pentagon has a plan that prioritizes the homeland over the China threat? This refers to a draft for the new National Defense Strategy, or NDS, which has landed on the desk of none other than the Secretary of Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. The National Defense Strategy is a document put together by the Department of War that outlines America's global military policy. It's expected to be published every 4 years. The last one was in 2022, so this draft is most likely leading up to a final draft in 2026. And it seems to be heading in a new direction. In the 2022 NDS and Trump's previous 2018 NDS, challenging China was a major focus. But according to 3 anonymous people in the know, this draft places domestic and regional missions above countering adversaries such as Beijing and Moscow. Now that might sound believable to you. The National Guard is, after all, being deployed throughout major American cities to maintain order. And Venezuela has quite literally become a target of the US military. And Hegseth recently told his Chinese counterpart the US does not seek conflict with China, nor is it pushing regime change or strangulation of the PRC. As one of Politico's anonymous sources says, this shift in the NDS means the old trusted US promises are being questioned. But before you panic that the CCP is about to have its way with the world, let's dig a little deeper. First of all, this is just a draft that can be changed by the Secretary of War at pretty much any time. Hegseth tasked his Undersecretary of War for Policy, Elbridge Colby, with preparing the newest NDS. And in those directions, he told Colby that the NDS will prioritize defense of the US homeland, including America's skies and borders, and deterring China in the Indo-Pacific. What about Hegseth saying he doesn't want to fight with China? Well, this title misses out the part where he also told his Chinese counterpart the US has vital interests in the Asia-Pacific, the priority theater, and will resolutely protect those interests. That doesn't sound like giving up on challenging China to me. I mean, what was Hegseth supposed to tell the Chinese defense minister? We're going to kill you? In fact, the domestic and Latin American shift may actually be about challenging China. We've covered how China stokes division in US society on university campuses and through bot accounts on social media. There are also worries about Chinese migrants who may be acting as spies and saboteurs inside the US. For example, by importing Chinese drones made by Chinese military-affiliated companies that can carry military payloads and can conduct surveillance of US military bases and critical infrastructure. On top of that, the CCP's role in trafficking fentanyl to the US, often with the help of cartels, is well documented. So when it comes to the National Guard deploying to major US cities as ICE and police are arresting drug traffickers and deporting illegal immigrants, well, it sort of looks like the CCP's plans for internal chaos in America may be getting thwarted. Then there's the idea that the US might focus more on the Caribbean and Latin America, which is usually dubbed America's backyard. In recent history, the US has neglected this area. So the Chinese Communist Party has stepped in, spreading anti-Western propaganda and bolstering its own image with a widespread online influence campaign. On top of that, the CCP has been pushing the Belt and Road Initiative into Latin America with infrastructure projects and investments paired with increasing trade and cooperation. And a lot of that infrastructure is dual use, meaning it could just as easily be for military use as it is civilian. And that brings us to the CCP's important friends in the region, Cuba and Venezuela. When US military vessels start amassing off the coast of Venezuela, and the US military starts holding drills in the area, on top of a strike that allegedly killed several narco-terrorists, the US is not just focusing on quote-unquote regional missions. It's actually targeting China's allies and fentanyl pipeline in America's backyard. Of course, this strategy is not limited to America's backyard. Back in June, the US and Israel neutered China's partner Iran in the Middle East, which badly hurt China on the global stage. First, by weakening one of its partners, and then by showing that the CCP either won't or can't defend its international allies. So if it looks like the US is shifting its focus from China to more domestic matters, that might be true. But given the long arm of the CCP and its years and years of infiltration into the US and Latin America, that is also countering China and removing China's global support system should they decide to attack Taiwan. In addition, securing the US internally against Chinese propaganda, spies, saboteurs, and drug trafficking eliminates another potential distraction for the US. So the reporting on the US giving up on containing great power adversaries like China is definitely alarmist, because it isn't thinking about the deep, big picture. So if you want to really know what's going on in China, you've got to subscribe to my premium website, ChinaUncensored.tv. That's where you'll see episodes and live streams we can't put on YouTube. And I can't afford to keep making China Uncensored without your support. And the best way to do that is by buying a membership. Once again, that's ChinaUncensored.tv. Thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.